require dramatic actions. There's a part of the Constitution that hasn't been used since its inception.
And they provided two ways to do that. One is Congress could come up with proposals, or the people could come up with proposals by way of a convention.
Then has you wonder, well, how democratic is it if 70% of the people want something and Congress still won't move?
Let people come together from across the political spectrum, sort things out, come up with proposals. And if they find proposals that 75% of the state legislatures agree with, that becomes the law, Now, how many of you are ready to go do something about this? And how many are going to not do something, or how many are going to wait and see?
Every democracy in the history of the world has gone out of existence. Ours is the oldest one that's been around. Most of them don't last as long as ours. They all go out of existence when they lose trust and confidence of the people.
There are a lot of people who do a lot of complaining and don't get behind the horse and do something about it.
This is an opportunity for we, the people, to step up and do what needs to be done.
We've got to straighten out America, or there won't be one left.
No more legislation.
And people have a lot of fun creating what they want for the world and what they want for people. And we polish it and refine it to the point where 75% of the room will agree with it. Because once you got that, you're way up there in terms of popularity, and the odds of getting 75% of the states to agree with it is much better.
This isn't rocket science.
Nothing stands in the way of a great idea.
Benjamin Franklin wrote, "England took away from the colonies their money, which created unemployment. The inability of the colonists to get power to issue their own money permanently out of the hands of George III and the international bankers was the prime reason for the Revolutionary War." In 1783, America won its independence over England. However, the central bank model and the corrupt greed concept associated with it had just begun. So what is a central bank? The central bank is an institution that produces a currency for an entire country. Two powers are inherent in central banking practices. Number one, they control the interest rates, and number two, they control the money supply and inflation. The central bank does not print the money supply and hand it over to the country. Instead, the central bank prints the money and loans it to the country at interest. Then, through increasing and decreasing the money supply, the central bank regulates the value of the currency being issued. It is critical to understand that the long-term product of the central banking system is debt. It doesn't take a genius to figure out this Ponzi scheme. First of all, the United States does not print or own any of these Federal Reserve notes you may have in your wallet. Every single dollar printed is loaned to us at interest. This means that every single dollar printed already has a certain percentage of debt attached to it. Since the central bank has a monopoly on the production of the currency being issued, and they loan each dollar with immediate debt attached to it, where does the money come from to pay off the debt? The answer is simple. It can only come from the central bank. They just print more money. So let me give you an example. If a president wants to stimulate the economy by infusing $700 billion into the economy, or he wants to pay $800 billion for a universal health care system, well, the president can't reach into the congressional pocketbook because they are already in debt over their heads. So instead, they request that the Federal Reserve print the $700 or $800 billion they need. But the Federal Reserve doesn't just print the money free of charge. Instead, they add on or print extra to cover the percentage for services rendered, and they pocket the excess. Regardless of whatever is written in code, the Federal Reserve really has no oversight, and they are not really bound by a checks and balance system like the three branches of our government. So without audits, it's impossible to know how much the Federal Reserve is actually printing, who they are loaning it to, and any potential conflicts of interest.
In September 1991, shortly after the end of the Cold War, a cabal of elite bankers and intelligence spooks led by George H.W. Bush financed a $240 billion covert operations war chest through the purchase of 10-year securities that, as it happened, were scheduled to come due on September 12, 2001. Project Hammer was undoubtedly used for a wide variety of illicit intelligence operations, but mainly it was used to finance a covert economic operation against the collapsing Soviet Union, whereby unknown Western investors bought up much of the Soviet industry with a focus on oil and gas, crashing the Russian economy, looting its central bank, orchestrating what became known as the Great Ruble Scam, and a wide variety of other clandestine, state-assisted operations designed to thoroughly prevent Russia from ever contesting the U.S. as a world superpower, while in the process lining the pockets of these economic hitmen who swooped in to devour the collapsing Russian economy after the fall of the Soviet Union. A spectacular investment for all, at least until money laundering investigations began tracing all the money, or when the 10-year deadline came up and the securities became due and began the routine process of authenticity and ownership checks. Evidence shows that several federal and private investigations had already stumbled upon the Hammer Fund and were compiling evidence on it up until the 9/11 attacks. These included the Office of Naval Intelligence, or ONI, which was moved to the outer E-ring of the recently renovated section of the Pentagon that was targeted and destroyed on 9/11. According to E.P. Heidner, the ONI had been investigating crimes associated with the plundering of Russia. 39 out of the 40 people who worked in those offices were killed on 9/11, including the entire chain of command. The Pentagon's financial accounting offices in that same wing were also an obvious target, as were the passengers on board Flight 77, many of whom coincidentally held top-secret clearances and were connected with Pentagon black operations.